This is the Qtv Nightly News, which is also on Q Radio 103.3 FM, and I am Loliam Kamara. Thank you for joining us. Here are the headlines. President Adama Barrow this evening welcomed Gabonese President Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema on his arrival at the Banjul International Airport for a 4-day visit to the Gambia. After weeks of speculation and uncertainty, the ruling National People's Party (NPP) and the Gambia Democratic Congress (GDC) have formally sealed their political alliance, bringing together President Adama Barrow and Mama Kandeh as they prepare for the December 5th presidential election. 45 years after the failed coup attempt of 30th July 1981, which claimed an estimated 500 lives, we heard or hear from Dr. Mamadou Lamin Taru, Chief Executive Officer of the National Accreditation and Quality Assurance Authority, NACA, who as a child witnessed the events of the attempted coup. The National Agency Against Trafficking in Persons, NATIP, in collaboration with its partners on Thursday, commemorated the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons and officially launched the National Action Plan Against Trafficking in Persons. SOS Children's Villages The Gambia today launched a family strengthening program aimed at empowering families, equipping young people with essential skills, and building stronger communities to create a brighter future for children. Those were the headlines. Coming up next, the news in detail. President Adama Barrow on Thursday afternoon welcomed Gabonese President Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema on his arrival at the Banjul International Airport for a 4-day visit or state visit to the Gambia. The visit is expected to strengthen diplomatic ties and expand cooperation between the two countries. During the 4-day visit, President Barrow and Oligui Nguema will hold official bilateral talks at State House to review existing areas of cooperation and explore new opportunities for partnership in trade, investment, agriculture, infrastructure, education, and regional cooperation. Tomorrow's news bulletin will cover the visiting president's full itinerary. After weeks of speculation and uncertainty, the alliance many had considered unlikely has finally become a reality. On Wednesday, the ruling National People's Party and the Gambia Democratic Congress Party formally sealed their political partnership, bringing together President Adama Barrow and Mama Kandeh as they prepare for what is expected to be a closely watched December 5th presidential election. Aliou Cisse witnessed the historic occasion and now reports.
The red carpet was rolled out at the State House in Banjul at an event which went long into the night as GDC leader Mama Kandeh arrived with members of his party executive and supporters drawn from across the country. They were welcomed by President Adama Barrow and senior officials of the NPP and alliance partners in a ceremony symbolizing a new political chapter. Few could have imagined such a moment just a few years ago. Once fierce political rivals, President Barrow and Mama Kandeh, both sons of Jemara district in the Upper River region, now stood side by side, united by what they described as a shared vision for national development, stability, and electoral victory. The memorandum of understanding was signed by representatives of the two parties as their leaders and supporters looked on, formally cementing the alliance. The details of the MOU have not yet been made public. Supporters cheered, embraced, and celebrated what they called the formalization of a political marriage that had long been the subject of speculation. Special recognition was given to Deputy Speaker C.D. Eskenjai, who doubles as NPP Deputy Spokesperson, and others whose behind-the-scenes negotiations were credited with helping transform months of engagement and dialogue into a political agreement. But perhaps the most significant moment was Mama Kandeh's explanation of why his party, after years in opposition and criticism of the government, was prepared to consider cooperation.
As political leaders, we must constantly ask ourselves one simple but profound question. What is the best for Gambia and her people? Politics should never become a prison that prevents leaders to make decisions in the best interest of our country. Leadership requires courage not only to oppose when necessary, but also to cooperate when cooperation can bring greater benefits to our people.
He says the alliance will not be interpreted as an abandonment of the principles that guided the GDC's opposition politics. He argues that the party's criticism of the government had been driven by patriotism, not personal hostility, and that national interest must ultimately come before party interest.
This is not surrender. This is not political weakness. This is not abandonment of principles. This is statesmanship. This is political maturity. This is leadership.
Beyond their political differences, President Barrow and Mama Kandeh share deep family ties. The two grew up together as close friends and even attended primary school together long before their paths diverged in politics. Despite those divergent political paths, they maintained a relationship grounded in mutual respect. President Barrow described the development as more than an electoral agreement. He framed the alliance as a demonstration of what he called national responsibility and a collective determination to protect peace, stability, and development.
This historic event is not simply about political cooperation, political convenience, purposely to win elections, as many may believe. For taking this important decision boldly, I commend Honorable Mama Kandeh and the GDC leadership, and it demonstrates genuine commitment, putting national unity above partisan interests.
The NPP leader welcomed the GDC and its supporters into what he described as a growing political family, stressing that the alliance will be built on mutual respect, consultation, and a shared national vision.
National People Party NPP is positively ready and willing to work with all sincere Gambians. You are all very warmly welcome. Feel at home.
Addressing the gathering, supporters from both sides declared the partnership a major boost to President Barrow's re-election bid, insisting that Mama Kandeh remains a formidable force with a loyal support base capable of influencing the outcome of the December polls. But beyond the ceremony, the bigger question remains: can former rivals successfully transform reconciliation into a durable partnership at the grassroots? For now, one thing is clear. After years of rivalry and weeks of speculation, the political marriage between the NPP and the GDC has been formally sealed, and a new chapter in the Gambia's 2026 election contest has begun. Reporting for Qtv News, I am Aliou Cisse.
45 years after the failed coup attempt of 30th July 1981, which claimed an estimated over 500 lives, it remains one of the darkest and most defining chapters in the Gambia's modern history. To reflect on the event, Baboucarr Ceesay spoke with Dr. Mamadou Lamine Taro, CEO of the National Accreditation and Quality Assurance Authority, and a witness to the 1981 attempted coup. Here is his report.
The attempted coup, led by Kukwai Samba Sanyang and members of the National Revolutionary Council, unfolded while President Sarauda Kairaba Jawara was in the United Kingdom attending the wedding of then Prince Charles, now King Charles III, and Lady Diana Spencer. For several days, armed clashes, looting and lawlessness plunged the country into fear and uncertainty. Dr. Mamadou Lamine Taro, whose father was an officer in the field force, the country's armed forces, before the establishment of the Gambia Armed Forces, witnessed the events of the 1981 attempted coup as a child under the age of 10. He later chronicled his experiences in an article titled "1 Week of Mayhem," an account of the July 30th insurrection in the Gambia. In this report, he sheds light on the coup plotters, the insiders who supported the uprising, and how decision by the army command aided the attackers during the early stages of the attempted coup.
Most of the protagonists in this 1981 abortive coup were anti-establishment. Coming to the barracks itself, there were certain officers within the field force who were conspirators or who conspired with Kukwai and his people to stage this coup d'etat in 1981. Now, by 1980, Commander Eko Mahoney, who was the deputy commander of the field force, was brutally assassinated by a constable called Mustafa Danso. Now, the decision after that ill-fated event was to prohibit the field force officers from carrying ammunition while on guard duty. It was during this period that these people capitalized and, invaded the barracks, overpowered the guards, and declared themselves supreme control of the revolution. When they came to the barracks, there was no resistance because the men on guard were just having empty rifles.
Kukwe Samba Sanyang is the name most closely associated with the 1981 attempted coup. However, the uprising also involved collaborators.
There were some field force elements and others were civilians. The field force elements I know were Kantong Fati, Dembo Jame, Jere Koli, and Junkung Sao. The rest were all civilian elements, including Apai Sonko, who was in fact a taxi driver.
According to Dr. Taro, the 1981 attempted coup plunged the Gambia into widespread chaos, resulting in significant loss of life.
So there was a breakdown of law and order. So people who participated in this coup, most of them, they were taking their own personal initiatives. Some used the occasion to settle old scores with people they had problems with. So it was a very dangerous era during that period in this country. There was looting, pillaging, and plundering. You've heard of Moreland Prom. That Moreland Prom was razed to the ground. It was looted. Many shops were looted. Even Jewel Brew, which was just about 2-3 years old at the time, Jewel Brew factory, it was ravaged by these rebels. On the part of the Senegalese, they said 33 soldiers died, 33. But on the Gambian side, both civilians, field force, and all whatnot, is between 500 to 1,000.
But how did Sadauda Kairaba Jawara return to the country and regain control?
When we gained independence, we signed a defense protocol with Senegal that in the event the Gambia was attacked, the Senegalese will intervene, and vice versa. All right, so that was what was invoked in 1981, and that led to the Senegalese intervention. When news reached Sadauda in UK that there was trouble in the country, he flew to Dakar. It was the Senegalese that helicoptered him, they ferried him into the country.
By then, most of the coup plotters, including Kukwe Samba Sanyang, had fled to Guinea-Bissau. Others were arrested, tried, and sentenced to death before being transferred to Mile 2 prison. According to Dr. Taro, those death sentences were ultimately not carried out, with the exception of Mustafa Danso, who was executed by a firing squad on the 30th of September 1981, becoming at the time the first person to be executed in the Gambia since the country gained independence in 1965. Dr. Taro urges Gambians to uphold the Constitution and respect the rule of law, stressing that these are essential for preserving peace, stability, and national unity. For many Gambians, especially those who lived through the unrest, the anniversary is not only a time to remember those who lost their lives, but also an opportunity to reflect on the lessons of history and the need to preserve national unity for future generations. Babukar Sise, QTV News.
On Thursday, July 30th, the National Agency Against Trafficking in Persons, alongside partners, commemorated World Day Against Trafficking in Persons and officially launched the National Action Plan Against Trafficking in Persons. Mamna Bukar has the rest of the story.
The gathering brought together key national agencies and international partners to strengthen the country's response to human exploitation. This year's observance focuses on the theme Trapped Behind the Scam, targeting the growing threat of cyber-enabled scams and digital exploitation where vulnerable populations are lured into online traps and forced labor under false pretenses. The initiative seeks to emphasize collective responsibility to expose the hidden human cost of online scams, support victims, and strengthen prevention efforts across the country. Here is Aissatou Dabo, Executive Director of NATIB.
Trafficking in persons is not merely a crime against the law. It is a crime against humanity. Every victim deserves protection. Every survivor deserves justice. Every child deserves a future free from exploitation. Every citizen has a responsibility to remain vigilant. Let us leave the gathering with renewed determination to transform commitments into measurable action.
A major highlight of the gathering, however, is the official launch of two strategic tools: the National Action Plan and Trafficking in Persons Manual NAPTIP 2026-2030, supported by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime through the PROMISE project. The National Action Plan establishes the government's comprehensive anti-trafficking roadmap for the next 5 years, outlining core interventions, strategies for resource mobilization, and targeted capacity-building efforts. Meanwhile, the Trafficking in Persons Training Manual is specifically designed to equip frontline actors, including law enforcement, legal personnel, and civil society organizations with practical knowledge to detect cases, protect victims, and prosecute perpetrators effectively. Carl Frederick Paul is the UN Resident Coordinator.
The success of these documents will be measured by stronger institutions, better protection, and enhanced supports to victims, survivors, increased public awareness, effective investigation and prosecution, and stronger partnership. Implementation will require sustained political commitment, adequate resources, but also, above all, implementation must remain centered on human rights, dignity, and the needs of victims and survivors.
Abdoulaye Koli, Registrar General at the Ministry of Justice, spoke on behalf of Hussein Tomasi, the Solicitor General.
We must remain united in purpose. The Republic of the Gambia must stand as a beacon of justice and humanity, demonstrating that even in the face of complex challenges, we will not falter in our resolve. Together, let us build a future where no one is trapped behind scams, exploitation, or fear, only empowered by dignity, freedom, and hope.
The event concluded with a panel discussion examining how stronger partnerships, institutional capacity building, and survivor-centered responses can enhance the Gambia's efforts in combating trafficking in persons. NATIP and its local and international partners aim to empower civil society, enhance cross-border cooperation, and reaffirm their commitment to translate these commitments into effective action, while reinforcing prevention and accountability. Mamna Buka, reporting for QTV News.
We will now go for a commercial break. When we return, we have more national news stories to stay tuned. Welcome back, and this is QTV News. I am Loliam Camara. Here are the rest of tonight's stories. SOS Children's Villages The Gambia on Thursday launched a family strengthening program aimed at empowering families, developing young people's skills, and strengthening communities to create a better future for children. Yafatu Gay tells us more.
The initiative is being implemented in Madiana and Sunchu Alaji, focusing on 4 main areas: livelihood support for families, youth skills development and employability, child protection and care, and community engagement and resilience. Nabia Sow, the project coordinator, gave an overview of the project, highlighting its key activities and long-term objectives.
So the project, what it aims to do is strengthen these families. Because when we say that children are the best interest of a child is supposed to be within their families, but if a family is not able to care for them, what do? So what we are doing now is helping to strengthen these families to improve the care and livelihood of these young people. But not just the families, but also the young people who are, most cases, the future of these communities that we engage in.
A total of 150 young people, with 75 beneficiaries coming from each community, are expected to benefit from the program. In addition, 60 families and 6 community structures will directly participate in the project. Jean-Pierre Covermin, National Director of SOS Children's Villages The Gambia, expressed the organization's commitment to strengthening families and preventing children from being separated from their families.
It's very important to work on prevention of child-family separation. Some statistics in the Gambia give some quite a high percentage in terms of children not living with their biological parents. It's quite high. I don't want to give any data right now, but it's quite high. So we are here to support.
Fatou Jiba, Director of the Department of Community Development and Chair of the program, and CDK Toure, the CEO of Birkama Area Council, stressed the importance of community involvement in the project's success and sustainability.
I am again appealing to all partners and the communities who are really present as beneficiaries for us to work together and ensure that we achieve the objective at the end of the day.
Brikama Area Council is in full support of this particular project, and we are talking about sustainability part of the project. I have my able councillors here who are the policy makers, and one of them present here who is an Iron Lady, and I know as a beneficiary she'll fight tooth and nail to make sure that something is budgeted for this particular project.
Suleiman Baji and Pa Masau Job, community representatives from Madiana and Sunchu Alaji, respectively thanked SOS Children's Villages and their partners for investing in young people and families. They said the skills and opportunities provided through the project will help address joblessness and unemployment among young people and could contribute to reducing crime in the communities. The overall goal of the project is to ensure that every child and young person grows up with strong family and community bonds they need to become their strongest selves. The lunch ended with stakeholders reaffirming their commitment to collaborating to strengthen families, empower young people, and build resilient communities where every child can grow up in a safe and supportive environment. Reporting for QTV News, this is Yafatu Gay.
The Department of Parks and Wildlife Management, under the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources, has officially launched the Live Godwit project, a major conservation initiative aimed at strengthening the protection and sustainable management of the Gambia's critical wetland habitats for migratory water birds. Jacqueline Colley filed this report.
The project focuses particularly on the conservation of the black-tailed godwit, a migratory bird species that depends on healthy wetlands during its annual journey, alongside other associated migratory water birds. The initiative will bring together government institutions, conservation organizations, and development partners to ensure the sustainable management of key habitats. Migratory birds can play a crucial role in pollination and seed dispersal, helping plants reproduce and expand into new areas. By carrying pollen between flowers and dispersing seeds across vast distances, these birds contribute to forest regeneration, grassland renewal, and the preservation of genetic diversity within ecosystems. They also provide a natural pest control service. Here is Nuha Jame, the Senior Wildlife Conservation Officer.
By eating harmful insects, pollinating crops, dispersing seeds, migratory birds directly contribute to food security and farmer livelihoods. They are also important to job creation. Beyond tourism and agriculture, a wide variety or array of professionals depends on migratory birds, wildlife guides, environmental scientists, park rangers, conservation workers, and local artisans, crafting and other things.
Mr. Jame highlighted the ecological contributions of migratory birds, especially the black-tailed godwit.
As the climate shifts, birds adjust their migratory routes and timing. They arrive earlier or later in breeding areas. Their journeys lengthen and shorten. New species appear in an unfamiliar region, and population sizes fluctuate with temperature changes. By monitoring these patterns, scientists gain crucial insight into global warming and shifting weather systems.
Maimun Andao is the director of the Central Project Coordination Unit of the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources.
Through this project, we are translating these commitments into concrete actions on the ground. Restoring wetlands, encouraging sustainable climate-resilient rice cultivations, and managing key ecosystems would help protect biodiversity, enhance livelihood, and boost resilience against climate change. And this shows that conservation and sustainable development are compatible, supporting each other.
The Live Godwit project is expected to strengthen habitat protection efforts across key wetland sites, promote sustainable environmental practices, and increase public awareness about the importance of conserving migratory birds and their ecosystems. The launch marks a significant step in the Gambia's commitment to biodiversity conservation and the sustainable management of its wetlands, reinforcing the country's role in protecting migratory species that connect ecosystems across continents. Reporting for Qtv News, I am Jacqueline Coley.
That story by Jacqueline Coley brings us to the end of this news bulletin. Do join us again 8 p.m. tomorrow for another news bulletin. Until then, thanks for watching.